She found a wedding ring in his pocket, but it wasn't meant for her. The first thing Claire Bennett noticed was that the ring was too beautiful to be hidden. It rested inside a small velvet box, tucked deep in the inner pocket of her husband's winter coat. The band was old-fashioned gold, warm and softly scratched with age. A line of tiny diamonds curved around a pale blue stone that caught the kitchen light whenever Claire's hands trembled. And her hands were trembling badly. She stood alone beside the washing machine, listening to the rain tapping against the windows of their quiet house in Connecticut. Daniel had left 20 minutes earlier. He had kissed her cheek, told her he would be working late again, and walked out without meeting her eyes. Now Claire held a wedding ring she had never seen before. Inside the box was a folded card from a jeweler in Hartford. The handwriting was neat. For M, on the day you begin your forever. Claire read the sentence 3 times. Her name did not begin with M. And after 17 years of marriage, Daniel had never once spoken about buying her another wedding ring. Before we continue, tell me where you're listening from tonight. Maybe you are sitting alone after everyone else has gone to sleep. Maybe you are driving along a dark road, or lying in bed with the lights turned low. Wherever you are, this story begins with a question that has broken more than one heart. What would you do if you found proof that the person you trusted most was preparing a future that did not include you? Chapter 1. Claire had not intended to search Daniel's coat. She had only been checking the pockets before washing it. Daniel was careless about leaving receipts, coins, and folded notes inside his clothes. Once, a blue pen had exploded in the dryer and ruined 3 shirts. Since then, Claire checked every pocket. The velvet box had felt heavy in her palm. For one foolish second, she thought it might be a surprise for her. Their anniversary was only 6 weeks away. Perhaps Daniel had noticed how loose her original wedding ring had become. Perhaps he wanted to replace it. That hope lasted until she saw the letter M. Claire closed the box and placed it on the kitchen counter. She tried to breathe. There had been signs. Small ones at first. Daniel had started placing his phone face down during dinner. He changed the password after using the same 4 numbers for nearly a decade. He began leaving early on Saturdays, saying the hospital needed him for additional administrative work. Daniel was an emergency room physician. His schedule had always been demanding, but lately, the hospital seemed to require him at strange hours. He returned smelling of unfamiliar perfume twice. Both times, he claimed he had treated patients whose perfume had transferred to his coat. Claire had believed him, because believing Daniel was easier than imagining a life in which she could not. They had known each other since they were teenagers. Daniel had been the lanky boy who carried her books home from school. He had sat beside her through the worst night of her life. He had held her when the doctors told her that their newborn daughter had died before Claire could even hold her. He knew the shape of every scar she carried. He knew she hated thunder, loved burnt toast, and cried every year on August 17th. A man who knew her that completely could not betray her. Could he? Claire placed the ring back inside Daniel's coat. She did not confront him when he returned shortly after midnight. She lay in bed facing the wall and listened to him move quietly through the room. He took off his watch. He placed his phone on the bedside table. Then he stood still for a long moment. Claire could feel him looking at her. "Are you awake?" he whispered. She kept her breathing slow. Daniel climbed into bed without touching her. That was when the fear inside Claire hardened into certainty. For most of their marriage, Daniel had always reached for her in his sleep. Even after arguments, his hand would eventually find hers beneath the blanket. That night, he stayed on his side of the bed. The space between them felt wide enough to hold another woman. The following morning, Daniel left before Claire woke. Or at least, he believed she was asleep. Claire heard the bedroom door close at 6:15. She waited until his car disappeared down the street before checking his coat. The velvet box was gone. Her stomach twisted. Daniel had taken the ring with him. Claire sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the rain-streaked window. She could call him. She could demand an explanation. She could drive to the hospital and ask whether he was truly scheduled to work. But Claire had spent too many years arranging flowers for weddings to ignore what her instincts were telling her. She owned a small flower shop called Willow and Vine. She had watched hundreds of nervous men select roses, lilies, and peonies for women they loved. She had also watched guilty men buy expensive bouquets after betraying them. There was a look they carried, a carefulness, a distance. Daniel had been wearing that look for months. Claire picked up her phone and called the only person who knew almost everything about her. Her best friend Nina answered on the third ring. "Claire, is everything okay? I found a wedding ring in Daniel's pocket." Silence filled the line. Then Nina asked quietly, "Are you sure it was a wedding ring?" There was a jeweler's card. What did it say? Claire repeated the words. "For M on the day you begin your forever." Nina exhaled. "Do you know anyone whose name begins with M?" "No." "What about someone at the hospital?" "I don't know." "Then don't assume anything yet." "He's been lying to me." "You don't know that." "Yes," Claire said, "I think I do." Nina had been Claire's friend since college. She was practical where Claire was emotional, direct where Claire hesitated. "Ask him," Nina said. "Tonight, do not follow him, do not search his phone, and do not torture yourself by imagining things that may not be true." Claire looked at Daniel's empty side of the bed. "What if he lies? Then you will know you have a different problem." Claire thanked her and ended the call. She intended to follow Nina's advice. But at 11:30 that morning, Daniel sent a message. "Emergency meeting, I'll be home late, don't wait for dinner." 10 minutes later, Claire received an alert from their shared credit card account. Daniel had paid for lunch at a restaurant in Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge was 40 miles away from the hospital. And beside the restaurant stood the largest bridal boutique in the county. Chapter 2. Claire closed the flower shop early. She told her assistant she had a migraine, which was not entirely a lie. A painful pressure had formed behind her eyes, and every sound seemed too loud. She drove to Oak Ridge in silence. The rain had stopped, leaving the roads wet and shining beneath a pale winter sky. During the drive, Claire remembered the first time Daniel proposed. They had been 24. He had taken her to the small wooden bridge where they used to meet after school. He had been nervous enough to drop the ring box into a patch of grass. Claire had laughed while they searched for it together. When Daniel finally placed the ring on her finger, he said, "I know we've already survived the worst thing that can happen to two people. I want to spend the rest of my life finding better things with you." Claire had believed him. She still wore that ring. It was a simple gold band with a small diamond, nothing like the elegant ring in the velvet box. By the time she reached Oak Ridge, her palms were damp against the steering wheel. She parked across from the restaurant. Daniel's car was near the entrance. Claire lowered herself in the seat, ashamed of what she was doing but unable to leave. At 12:40, Daniel emerged from the restaurant. He was not alone. A young woman walked beside him. She looked 21 or 22, with dark brown hair falling past her shoulders. Daniel held an umbrella over her head, though the rain had stopped. The young woman laughed at something he said. Then Daniel placed his hand gently against her back. Claire's vision blurred. The woman was beautiful. Not in a polished, glamorous way. She wore jeans, white sneakers, and an oversized cream sweater. Her face looked open and expressive. She appeared too young for Daniel. That should have made Claire angry. Instead, it made her feel ancient. Daniel and the woman walked into the bridal boutique. Claire remained inside her car. She could hear her own heartbeat. A wedding ring. A young woman. A bridal boutique. There were explanations for each thing separately, but together they formed a truth Claire could not avoid. Her husband was planning a wedding, and Claire was not the bride. She waited almost an hour. When Daniel and the woman came out, the woman carried a white garment bag. Daniel carried a smaller shopping bag from the jeweler. He hugged her before she climbed into a silver car. The embrace was not brief. Daniel closed his eyes as he held her. Claire covered her mouth to stop herself from making a sound. After the young woman drove away, Daniel stood in the parking lot watching her car disappear. He looked emotional, proud almost. Then he removed his phone and called someone. Claire's phone began ringing. She froze. Daniel's name appeared on the screen. She let it ring. From across the street, she watched him listen to her voicemail. A message arrived a moment later. Just checking on you, hope your migraine is better, love you. Claire stared at the words. Then she watched Daniel walk back to his car, carrying a wedding ring for another woman. She did not remember driving home. At some point, she stopped near a grocery store and became sick beside a row of shopping carts. A stranger asked whether she needed help. Claire said no. She had said no so often during her life that the word came automatically. No, she did not need help. No, she was not lonely. No, she did not regret never becoming a mother. No, it did not hurt when people asked whether she and Daniel had children. No, she was not afraid that the grief they shared had become the only thing keeping their marriage together. By the time she arrived home, the sky had darkened. She packed a suitcase. Not because she had decided to leave Daniel permanently, but because she could not imagine sleeping beside him after what she had seen. She placed clothes inside without folding them. Jeans, sweaters, her toothbrush, a framed photograph of her father. Then she stopped at the dresser. Inside the top drawer was a small wooden box containing the only photograph Claire had of the daughter she had lost. The hospital had taken the picture after the baby was born. Claire had been heavily medicated. She remembered bright lights, frightened voices, and her mother crying beside the bed. Later, a nurse gave Claire the photograph. The image showed only a tiny hand wrapped in a white blanket. Claire and Daniel had named her Lily. Every August, they visited the memorial garden behind St. Catherine's Hospital, where a stone had been placed for infants who had died. Claire had spent 22 years imagining who Lily might have become. A child who loved music. A teenager who borrowed Claire's clothes. A young woman preparing for her own wedding. Claire pressed the photograph against her chest. Then she heard Daniel's car in the driveway. She returned the photograph to the drawer and closed it. The front door opened. Claire. Daniel walked into the bedroom and stopped when he saw the suitcase. His face changed. What happened? Claire looked at the man she had loved for more than half her life. For one moment, she wanted to ask him to hold her and tell her she had misunderstood everything. Instead, she said, "Who is she?" Daniel went pale. That was the answer before he spoke. Who is who? The young woman in Oak Ridge. His eyes widened. You followed me. You lied about being at the hospital. Claire, I can explain. The ring was in your pocket. Daniel closed his eyes. Claire felt something inside her break. She removed her wedding ring and placed it on the dresser. I saw you take her into a bridal shop. Please let me explain. Are you marrying her? No. Does she think you are? What? No. Then who is she? Daniel looked toward the open suitcase. His breathing became uneven. I wanted to tell you differently. Tell me what? I needed to be sure. Sure of what? Daniel sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. His hands were shaking now. The last time Claire had seen him look so frightened was the night their daughter died. He raised his eyes. Her name is Maya. Claire waited. Daniel swallowed. She isn't someone I'm having an affair with. Then why are you buying her a wedding ring? The ring belonged to your grandmother. Claire stared at him. My grandmother's ring disappeared after my mother died. I found it in a box of her things. And you gave it to a stranger. Daniel's voice broke. Maya isn't a stranger. Something in his face made the room feel suddenly cold. Who is she? Daniel stood, but Claire stepped away from him. He did not try to come closer. When you were 19, he said, when you gave birth at St. Catherine's, your daughter did not die. Claire stopped breathing. Daniel continued, but his voice sounded distant. She was adopted. Chapter 3. For several seconds, Claire could not understand the words. They reached her ears but seemed to belong to another language. That isn't funny, she whispered. I'm not joking. Our baby died. That's what we were told. I held a funeral. There was no funeral, there was a memorial service. Because the hospital said. I know what they said. Claire crossed the room and slapped him. The sound shocked both of them. Daniel did not move. You do not get to say this to me because you were caught lying. I have proof. You are cruel. Claire, you are cruel. She grabbed a lamp from the nightstand and threw it against the wall. The ceramic base shattered. Daniel remained still. Claire had never thrown anything in anger before. She had never struck him. She had spent her life turning pain inward, transforming it into quietness, headaches, and sleepless nights. Now 22 years of grief erupted at once. I saw her hand, Claire cried. The nurse gave me a photograph. My mother said she was gone. I know. We named her Lily. Maya was the name her adoptive parents gave her. Claire pressed both hands against her temples. Stop saying that. Daniel reached into his coat. Claire flinched. He removed an envelope and placed it on the bed. Inside were photocopied documents. A birth certificate. An adoption record. A letter written in Claire's mother's handwriting. Claire recognized the slant of the letters immediately. Daniel opened the letter but did not hand it to her. I found this after your mother died, he said. Claire's mother, Margaret, had passed away 9 months earlier following a stroke. Claire had spent weeks sorting through her belongings. Daniel had helped. Apparently, he had found more than he told her. What does it say? Daniel looked down. She wrote it to your father but never sent it. Read it. I don't think. Read it. Daniel's voice shook as he began. Thomas, what I did was for Claire. She is 19. She has no money, no degree, and no understanding of what it means to raise a child. The doctor agrees that the baby will have a better life with the Whitmores. Claire must believe the child died. Otherwise, she will spend years trying to reverse the adoption. Claire felt her knees weaken. Daniel continued. I signed the papers as her medical representative while she was sedated. I know you will call this unforgivable. Perhaps it is. But one day, when Claire has a proper marriage and a stable life, she may understand. Daniel lowered the letter. Claire's mother had always been controlling. Margaret selected Claire's clothes, monitored her friends, and insisted she attend a strict church school. When Claire became pregnant at 19, Margaret had called it a humiliation. But even in Claire's darkest memories, she had never imagined this. She couldn't sign for me. She told the hospital you were emotionally unstable and incapable of making decisions. I wasn't. I know. Where were you? Daniel looked ashamed. My father had taken me home. What? He told me there were complications and that you didn't want me there. Your mother said the same thing. You left. I was 20, I was terrified. My father said I was making everything worse. You left me alone with her. I returned the next morning. After they had taken my baby. Daniel looked down. I believed she was dead, Claire, just like you did. Claire picked up the adoption record. The letters moved in front of her eyes. Baby girl Monroe. Birth mother, Claire Elise Monroe. Adoptive parents, Robert and Susan Whitmore. The date was correct. August 17th. The hospital was correct. Even the time of birth matched the number Claire had whispered to herself for 22 years. 3:14 in the morning. How long have you known? She asked. Daniel hesitated. Claire looked at him. How long? I found the letter 9 months ago. And when did you find Maya? 7 months ago. The room tilted. You have known for 7 months that my daughter was alive. I needed to verify it. You verified it 7 months ago. I contacted the adoption agency. Maya had already requested information about her birth parents. We exchanged letters first. And you didn't tell me. I wanted to protect you until I knew it was real. When did you meet her? 5 months ago. Claire covered her mouth. 5 months. During those 5 months, Daniel had sat across from her at dinner. He had listened while Claire spoke about her flower shop and complained about bills. He had gone with her to the memorial garden on August 17th. He had watched Claire place white lilies beneath a stone for a child he knew was alive. You let me grieve at that memorial. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. I was going to tell you that day. But you didn't. You were already overwhelmed. Your mother had just died. Your father's condition was getting worse, I thought. You thought you should meet my daughter without me. Our daughter? No. The word came out sharp. You don't get to say our daughter while explaining how you kept her from me. Daniel's face crumpled. I know I was wrong. Does she know about me? And yes. What did you tell her? That you believed she died. And she believed you. Eventually. Does she hate me? No. You don't know that. She wants to meet you. Claire laughed, but it sounded broken. She wants to meet me, so you took her wedding dress shopping. Her adoptive father died 3 years ago. Susan has limited mobility after surgery. Maya asked me to come. You've become her father. I am her father. Claire stared at him. Those words hurt more than the ring. Daniel had become Maya's father, while Claire remained a woman placing flowers at a memorial. She is getting married next month, he continued. The ring was your grandmother's. Maya wanted something connected to her biological family. I had it restored for her. For M on the day you begin your forever. And yes, you wrote that. Daniel nodded. Claire closed her suitcase. Not because she planned to stay. Because she realized she did not need clothes to leave. She picked up her keys. Claire, please. Do not follow me. We need to talk. No, you have had 7 months to prepare your words. I have had 7 minutes. She walked toward the door. Daniel called after her. I was afraid the truth would destroy you. Claire turned. The truth didn't destroy me. She looked at the broken lamp, the letter, and the ring box in Daniel's hand. You did. Chapter 4. Claire drove to Nina's house without calling first. Nina opened the door wearing pajamas and holding a mug of tea. When she saw Claire's face, she immediately stepped aside. What happened? Claire walked into the living room. For several moments, she could not speak. Then the story came out in pieces. It's the ring. Oak Ridge. Maya. The adoption papers. The letter. Daniel's 7 months of silence. Nina listened without interrupting. When Claire finished, Nina sat beside her on the sofa. This is impossible, Nina whispered. I held a memorial for someone who is choosing wedding flowers. Did Daniel show you a DNA test? Claire looked at her. And yes. Then it's real. I don't know what real means anymore. Nina reached for her, but Claire stood. Her body felt electrified, unable to remain still. My mother did this. We only know what the letter says. She hated that I was pregnant. She was still your mother. That doesn't make her innocent. Claire walked toward the window. Snow had begun falling lightly outside. Do you know what she told me after the birth? Claire asked. She said God had taken my baby because he knew I wasn't ready. Nina closed her eyes. She let me believe I was being punished. Claire. I apologized to my mother for disappointing her. I thanked her for taking care of me, all those years she knew. Nina came closer. What do you need right now? I need to see my father. Claire's father lived in an assisted living community 2 towns away. After Margaret's death, his memory had begun deteriorating quickly. Some days, Thomas Monroe recognized Claire. Other days, he called her by her mother's name. The facility allowed Claire inside despite the late hour because the nurses knew her well. She found her father sitting beside a window in a common room, watching snow gather beneath the outdoor lights. He smiled when he saw her. Margaret, he said. Claire's heart sank. No, Dad, it's Claire. He studied her face. Claire. Yes. You look tired. I need to ask you something. She sat across from him. His hands were thin and spotted with age. Claire remembered those hands fixing her bicycle, building shelves, and lifting her onto his shoulders at the county fair. Do you remember when I had the baby? Thomas's expression changed. His gaze moved toward the window. Dad, you shouldn't be here. What? Your mother said you needed rest. Did you know she gave my baby away? Thomas began rubbing his thumb against the arm of the chair. Your mother handled those things. Did you know? I told her not to. Claire stopped. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. I told Margaret you would never forgive us. Of us? She said you were too young. Did you help her? I didn't sign anything. But you knew. She told me afterward. And you stayed with her for 22 years. Thomas looked confused again. Where is your mother? Oh, she's dead. No, she went to the store. Claire turned away, pressing her fist against her mouth. Her father had known. Maybe not before the adoption, but afterward. He had watched her grieve. He had stood beside Claire in the memorial garden every August. He had hugged her while carrying a secret that could have changed her entire life. I'm sorry, Thomas whispered. Claire looked back at him. For one brief moment, his eyes were clear. I looked for the family, he said. Years ago, Margaret found out. She said if I told you, she would leave and make sure you never spoke to me again. So you chose her. I was weak. Claire began to cry. Thomas reached for her hand. Your little girl had dark hair. Claire's breath caught. You saw her. At the hospital before they took her. What did she look like? He smiled through his tears. And like you. Claire lowered her head into her father's lap and wept. He placed one trembling hand against her hair. I'm sorry, he repeated. I'm sorry, Claire. She did not tell him she forgave him. She did not know whether she ever could. But she remained there until he fell asleep. When Claire returned to Nina's house, Daniel's car was parked outside. He stood on the porch holding her coat. Claire almost drove away. Instead, she parked and walked toward him. You forgot this, he said. She took the coat without answering. I didn't come to pressure you. Then leave. I need to tell you one more thing. No. Maya's wedding is Saturday. Claire looked at him sharply. You said next month. I lied. Why? Because I was planning to tell you tomorrow. After attending her wedding. Before, I wanted to bring you to meet her. Claire laughed bitterly. You planned to reveal my daughter to me 4 days before her wedding. I didn't know how to do this. So you chose the worst possible way. Maya is frightened. Of me. Of being rejected. Claire stared at him. Rejected. She grew up believing you gave her away. The record said it was voluntary. She contacted the agency when she turned 18, but your mother intercepted the first letter. My mother intercepted it. We found it unopened in her desk. Claire felt another piece of her life collapse. Maya had reached for her. Margaret had stopped her. Where is the letter? At home. I want it. I'll bring it. Do not come back here, leave it at the flower shop. Daniel nodded. Then he handed Claire the velvet ring box. She recoiled. I don't want it. It belonged to your grandmother. You were giving it to Maya. I still want to. Then why are you handing it to me? Because that decision should have been yours. Claire opened the box. The blue stone shimmered beneath the porch light. She remembered seeing the ring on her grandmother's hand when she was a child. Her grandmother had promised Claire that one day it would belong to her. After Margaret died, Claire searched for it. Daniel had claimed they had not found it. Another lie. You stole this from me. I thought giving it to Maya would connect both of you. You don't get to build a connection between us while keeping us apart. Daniel lowered his head. I know. Claire closed the box. For the first time that night, she looked closely at him. He appeared older than he had the previous morning. His shoulders sagged, and deep shadows rested beneath his eyes. Part of Claire wanted to comfort him. That instinct frightened her. You should go, she said. Daniel walked toward his car. Before opening the door, he turned. She looks like you when she's concentrating. Claire did not respond. She presses her lips together the same way, he continued, and she hates thunderstorms. Stop. She is kind, Claire. Stop telling me about the woman you got to know while I was mourning her. Daniel's face tightened. Then he climbed into his car and drove away. Claire remained on the porch holding a wedding ring that was not meant for her. Inside the box, beneath the ring, she noticed another folded note. This one was addressed in unfamiliar handwriting. To Claire from Maya. Chapter 5. Claire waited until sunrise before opening Maya's note. She sat at Nina's kitchen table while pale morning light filled the room. The letter was written on simple white paper. Dear Claire, I have started this letter 12 times. I don't know whether to call you Claire, Mrs. Bennett, or Mom, so I'm choosing Claire because I don't want to take something I haven't earned. Daniel says you believed I died. I want you to know that I believe him. At first, I didn't. When I requested my adoption records, they said my birth mother had willingly surrendered me. For years, I imagined you signing the papers and walking away. I was angry with you before I knew you. I'm ashamed of some of the things I thought. My adoptive parents gave me a good childhood. My mom, Susan, is still the person I call Mom. My dad, Robert, died 3 years ago. I loved him very much. Finding you does not erase them. But loving them does not mean I have never wondered about you. I wondered whether I had your eyes. I wondered whether you remembered my birthday. I wondered whether you ever stood somewhere on August 17th and felt like something was missing. Daniel told me about the memorial garden. I cried when he told me. I asked him to let me contact you, but he said he needed to be certain the records were real. Then your mother died and your father became ill. He kept saying the timing was wrong. I should have insisted. For that, I am sorry. I am getting married on Saturday. His name is Ethan. We met in college, and he makes me laugh when I become too serious. I don't expect you to come. I don't expect anything from you, but I wanted you to know that I have had a happy life. You did not fail me. Someone failed both of us. If you ever want to meet me, I will wait. Maya. Claire read the letter twice. Then she turned it over, hoping there might be more. There was only a phone number. Nina entered the kitchen and found Claire staring at it. Is that from her? Claire handed her the letter. Nina read silently. She sounds kind. Daniel said the same thing. That doesn't make it untrue. Claire looked toward the window. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. You don't have to know yet. She has a mother. And yes, she had a father. And yes, she doesn't need me. Needing someone isn't the only reason to know them. Claire folded the letter carefully. I missed everything. Nina sat beside her. You didn't choose to. I missed her first word, her first day of school, her birthdays, her graduation. You cannot get those years back. Claire flinched. I know. But you may still have years ahead. The thought frightened Claire more than she expected. For 22 years, Lily had been perfect because she existed only in Claire's imagination. She never argued. She never rejected Claire. She never called another woman mom. Maya was real. She had her own memories, loyalties, and wounds. Meeting her meant accepting that Claire could not simply step into the role that had been stolen from her. At 10 that morning, Claire went to Willow and Vine. Daniel had left the unopened letter from Maya beneath the door. The envelope was yellowed with age and postmarked 4 years earlier. Inside was a younger version of the letter Claire had just read. My name is Maya Whitmore. I believe I may be your biological daughter. Margaret had hidden it. Claire sat on the floor of her flower shop and cried until her assistant arrived. She sent the assistant home and locked the door. For hours, Claire wandered among buckets of roses and eucalyptus, touching petals without seeing them. Near noon, the bell above the door rang. Claire had forgotten to lock it again. A woman entered using a cane. She appeared to be in her early 60s. Her silver hair was cut neatly at her chin, and her face carried the exhaustion of someone who had not slept. Are you Claire? She asked. Claire knew immediately. You're Susan. The woman nodded. Maya's mother. And yes. The word struck Claire, but she forced herself to remain still. Susan looked around the flower shop. This is beautiful. Why are you here? Because Daniel told Maya what happened. She believes she ruined your marriage. My marriage had problems before Maya knew I existed. She still feels responsible. She isn't. Susan leaned against her cane. May I sit? Claire pointed toward a chair. Susan lowered herself carefully. I did not know the adoption was arranged without your consent, she said. My husband and I were told you had chosen us. Did you ever question why I never responded to Maya's requests? The agency said you wanted no contact. I didn't know where she was. I understand that now. Claire studied the woman who had raised her daughter. Jealousy moved through her like heat. Susan had held Maya when she was sick. Susan had attended school plays and birthday parties. Susan had heard Maya call her mom. Yet this woman had not stolen Maya. She had been lied to as well. Was she happy? Claire asked. Susan smiled sadly. Mostly, she was stubborn, curious, and dramatic. When she was 6, she announced she was running away because we made her eat peas. She packed 3 stuffed animals and stood at the end of the driveway for 20 minutes. Claire almost smiled. She hates peas. She still does. So do I. I know, Daniel told us. The reminder of Daniel's involvement closed Claire's expression again. Susan noticed. He made mistakes, she said, but he loves you. You don't know us. No, but I have watched that man speak about you. He carries you into every room, even when you are not there. He lied to me for 7 months. And yes, you think I should forgive him. No. Susan's answer surprised her. I think forgiveness offered before anger has been heard becomes another kind of silence. Claire sat across from her. Then why are you here? To tell you something Maya will not say. What? She wants you at the wedding. She said she doesn't expect me to come. She doesn't expect it, she wants it. I would be a stranger at her wedding. Everyone is a stranger until the first conversation. Claire looked away. Susan reached into her bag and removed a photograph. Maya stood beside an older man near a college graduation banner. She wore a blue gown and held a diploma. She has your smile, Susan said. Claire took the photograph. Maya did have her smile. Not the polite smile Claire used for customers, but the crooked one that appeared when something genuinely delighted her. Claire traced Maya's face with one finger. Did she know her father was sick? Robert had cancer for 2 years. She cared for him until the end. I'm sorry. So am I. Susan paused. Robert always believed Maya should find you. I was afraid. Afraid of losing her. And yes. Did you stop her? No, but part of me wanted to. Claire handed back the photograph. Susan did not take it. Keep it. Claire held the image against her chest. Saturday was only 3 days away. She had spent 22 years mourning a daughter who was alive. Now she had 3 days to decide whether she could watch that daughter become someone's wife. In Chapter 6, Claire returned home Thursday afternoon. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table with his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. The house looked exactly as she had left it, except the broken lamp had been removed. He stood when she entered. I came for clothes, Claire said. I'll stay out of your way. She walked toward the stairs, then stopped. How much does Maya know about us? Daniel remained beside the table. About our marriage. About everything. She knows we stayed together after the birth. She knows we married 5 years later. Does she know we tried to have more children? No. Does she know about the miscarriages? No. Claire had become pregnant twice after marrying Daniel. The first pregnancy ended after 9 weeks. The second lasted nearly 5 months. Afterward, the doctors told Claire that another pregnancy could be dangerous. She and Daniel considered adoption but could never agree. Claire feared loving another child would feel like replacing Lily. Daniel said he was willing to wait until Claire felt ready. Eventually, they stopped discussing it. Why didn't you tell her? Claire asked. It felt private. But meeting her secretly didn't. Daniel accepted the blow without defending himself. Claire sat across from him. When did the DNA test come back? 4 months ago. So for 3 months, you knew for certain. And yes. And every day, you chose not to tell me. And yes. Why? Daniel stared into his coffee. At first, I told myself I needed to learn more about what your mother had done. Then your father wandered away from the care facility, and you barely slept for weeks. That wasn't your decision to make. I know. Stop saying you know. Daniel raised his eyes. I was afraid. Of what? That finding Maya would not heal you. I never asked you to heal me. You still speak to Lily. Claire went still. Daniel's voice softened. Sometimes, when you think I'm asleep, you whisper to her. That is none of your business. You are my wife. Then why did you treat me like a patient? Because I have spent half my life watching grief take pieces of you. And you decided another lie would help. I decided to wait until after Maya's wedding. Claire stared at him. So you were going to attend her wedding, give her my grandmother's ring, and then come home to tell me? No, I planned to tell you before. 4 days before. And yes. Why then? Because Maya asked whether you could be there. Claire looked down at her bare hand. A pale line remained where her wedding ring had been. Did you ever consider telling me the day you found the letter? Every hour. But you didn't. I kept imagining how you would look at me when I said your mother had lied. I thought about your father. I thought about the memorial garden. I thought you might collapse. So you protected yourself from seeing my pain. Daniel's face tightened. Maybe he had not understood that until she said it. Claire continued. You keep calling this protection, but you were protecting yourself. You did not want to be the person who broke my world apart. You're right. The admission left nowhere for her anger to go. Daniel removed something from his pocket. Claire's original wedding ring. You left it upstairs. She did not take it. Do you love me? She asked. And yes. Do you love Maya? And yes. Did you enjoy having something with her that I didn't? Daniel recoiled. No. Be honest. I hated every moment you weren't there. But you kept going back. Because she had spent her life believing neither of us wanted her. And instead of telling her the truth with me, you became the good parent. That is not what happened. You were the one who searched, the one who arrived, the one who took her to lunch and dress fittings. I wasn't trying to replace you. You didn't need to try, I wasn't there. Daniel placed the ring on the table. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Do you want me to stay away from the wedding? Claire imagined Maya walking down the aisle without the father who had recently entered her life. Whatever Claire felt about Daniel, Maya had already lost one father. No, she said, she shouldn't be punished for what you did. Daniel nodded. Are you going? I haven't decided. The ceremony is at 4, St. Mark's Chapel in Oak Ridge. Claire almost laughed. You lied about the date, but now you're giving me the address. I'm done choosing what you should know. 7 months too late. And yes. Claire went upstairs and packed enough clothing for a week. When she came down, Daniel was still sitting at the table. She stopped beside the front door. What did she say when you first told her about me? Daniel looked toward the window. She asked whether you had ever loved her. Claire closed her eyes. What did you say? I told her you never had the chance not to. Claire left before he could see her cry. Chapter 7. Friday morning, Claire went to the memorial garden. Snow covered the grass in a thin white layer. The stone dedicated to lost infants stood beneath an old oak tree. Names had been carved into small bronze plaques around its base. Lily Bennett was not among them because there had never been a death certificate. Claire and Daniel had placed a temporary card there each year instead. This year's card remained beneath a layer of snow. Our Lily. Always loved. Never forgotten. Claire knelt and brushed away the snow. For 22 years, this place had held the grief she could not carry alone. Now the grief had changed shape. Lily had never existed. Or perhaps she had existed only inside Claire. Maya was the child who survived. Maya had been given a different name, a different family, and a different life. Claire removed the card. I'm sorry, she whispered. A voice behind her answered. For what? Claire turned. Maya stood a few feet away. She wore a navy coat, and snowflakes rested in her dark hair. For several seconds, neither woman moved. Claire recognized pieces of herself immediately. The shape of Maya's eyes. The small crease between her eyebrows. The way she pressed her lips together when nervous. Daniel had been right. Did he bring you here? Claire asked. No, Susan told me you might come. Claire stood slowly. Maya looked toward the memorial stone. Is this where you came every year? And yes. Daniel showed me pictures. He had no right. I asked. Claire held the card against her chest. Maya stepped closer but maintained a careful distance. I can leave. No. The answer came too quickly. Maya stopped. Claire studied the young woman she had once known only as a tiny hand in a photograph. You have my mother's eyes, Claire said. Maya looked uneasy. I've seen pictures of her. She was not a good person. She did a terrible thing. She did many terrible things. Maya nodded. Snow drifted quietly around them. I don't know what I'm supposed to say, Maya admitted. Neither do I. I practiced in the car. So did I for 22 years. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Claire regretted the words immediately. I'm sorry. No, you're allowed to be angry. Not at you. You don't know me well enough to be angry at me yet. Claire gave a surprised laugh. Maya smiled. It was Claire's smile. Seeing it on another face nearly undid her. Did you have a happy childhood? Claire asked. And yes. Tell me the truth. I am. Mom and Dad were wonderful, not perfect but wonderful. What was your father like? He taught high school history. He could make a 10-minute story last an hour. He cried during every movie, including comedies. Daniel cries during dog food commercials. Maya laughed again. He didn't tell me that. There are many things he didn't tell either of us. The laughter faded. Maya looked toward the memorial stone. I asked him to wait before telling you. Claire's expression hardened. Why? Not for 7 months. At first, I wanted time to process everything. When the DNA test came back, I told him I was ready. Then he said your father was ill and your mother had just died. He used my grief as an excuse. I think he was terrified. That does not excuse him. I know. Claire looked at her. You defend him. He showed up. The words were not cruel, but they hurt. Maya continued quickly. I don't mean that you didn't, you couldn't. But he did. And yes. Claire turned away. She could not blame Maya for loving Daniel. The love was evidence of something Claire had been denied, not something Maya had stolen. What is Ethan like? She asked. Maya seemed relieved by the change. Patient, funny. He repairs old houses and thinks every problem can be solved with the correct tool. Can it? No, but I let him believe it. Do you love him? Very much. Are you frightened? Terrified. Good. Maya looked surprised. Being frightened means you understand it matters. Claire had said the same thing to nervous brides in her flower shop many times. Maya stepped closer. I wanted to ask you something. What? The flowers for tomorrow were damaged. How? The florist's delivery truck lost refrigeration overnight. Most of the arrangements wilted. Claire almost smiled at the absurdity. You came to find your birth mother the day before your wedding because you need a florist. No, I came because I wanted to see you. But you also need flowers. Maya's cheeks reddened. And yes. What did you order? White roses, blue delphinium, eucalyptus, and small wildflowers. Claire knew exactly how the arrangement would look. What time is the ceremony? 4. I remember. Maya lowered her eyes. Claire held out the memorial card. This belonged to someone who was never real. Maya looked at it. She was real to you. And yes. Then maybe you don't have to throw her away. Claire's throat tightened. Maya reached into her pocket and removed the tiny photograph of the newborn's hand. Claire stared. Daniel gave it to me, Maya said. He said there were two copies. I thought the hospital only made one. My adoptive parents received this with the records. Claire touched the edge of the photograph. That was you. And yes, I looked at this hand every night for almost a year. Maya placed her hand beside the image. The fingers were long and slender now. Claire felt an overwhelming urge to hold them. She hesitated. Maya noticed and slowly extended her hand. Claire took it. Her daughter's hand was warm. For 22 years, Claire had imagined this moment as something perfect. She thought there would be music inside her chest, immediate recognition, and a love so pure that it erased every wound. Instead, she felt grief, anger, fear, and tenderness tangled together. It was not perfect. It was real. Come to the flower shop, Claire said. Maya blinked. Why? We have a wedding to save. Chapter 8. Claire and Maya spent the afternoon surrounded by flowers. Nina joined them, saying very little at first. She watched Maya carefully, as though trying to memorize every feature on Claire's behalf. Willow and Vine did not have enough white roses for the original arrangements, so Claire changed the design. She chose cream garden roses, pale blue hydrangeas, eucalyptus, and branches of winter berries. She added tiny white flowers that looked as if snow had settled among the leaves. Maya worked beside her. She was terrible at trimming stems. You're holding the shears backward, Claire said. I thought flowers were supposed to be relaxing. Only when someone else arranges them. Maya smiled. For several hours, they avoided the subjects waiting between them. They spoke about Ethan, the wedding venue, and Maya's work as an elementary school teacher. Claire learned that Maya loved mystery novels, drank coffee too sweet, and once broke her arm climbing a tree. Maya learned that Claire had opened Willow and Vine 10 years earlier, after leaving a corporate accounting job she hated. You gave up accounting for flowers? Maya asked. I prefer beautiful things that die honestly. Maya stared at her. That is either very poetic or extremely concerning. Both can be true. Nina laughed from across the room. By early evening, the bridal bouquet was nearly finished. Claire wrapped the stems in white ribbon. Maya watched her hands. I used to imagine you were a musician, Maya said. Why? I don't know, maybe because my fingers are long. I cannot play anything. I played piano for 6 years. Were you good? No. Claire smiled. Maya's expression became serious. Did you ever have other children? Claire's hand stopped. No. I'm sorry. There were 2 pregnancies after you, neither continued. Maya looked down. Daniel didn't tell me. I asked him not to. Why? I don't know, perhaps because I wanted something he hadn't already shared. Maya absorbed the answer without defending him. Claire continued wrapping the bouquet. We considered adoption. What happened? I was afraid. Of what? That I would compare the child to you, that I would love them for the wrong reasons, that I would not love them enough. Maya touched a rose petal. You would have. You don't know that. I've watched you care about every flower in this room. I think a child would have survived. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Maya quickly looked away, giving her privacy. At 7, Susan arrived with dinner. She embraced Maya, kissed her forehead, and inspected the bouquet. It's more beautiful than the original, she said. Maya glanced at Claire. I think so too. Claire felt both warmth and jealousy when Susan called Maya sweetheart. She hated the jealousy. Susan had earned every affectionate word between them. While Nina and Maya carried arrangements into the cooler, Susan approached Claire. Thank you. I'm a florist. You know this is more than flowers. Claire tied another ribbon. She asked me to come tomorrow. Willed you? I don't know where I belong. Susan leaned against the work table. Neither did I when Maya first arrived. You were her mother. I was a frightened woman holding someone else's baby. Claire looked at her. Susan continued. For years, I worried that one day you would appear, and Maya would discover you were everything I was not. You believed I had abandoned her. I did. Fear is not always reasonable. Are you afraid now? And yes. The honesty surprised Claire. Of what? That she will love you in a way that changes what we have. Claire set down the ribbon. I am afraid she will never love me the way she loves you. Perhaps both of us need to stop treating love like a room with only one chair. Claire looked toward the cooler, where Maya was laughing with Nina. Did you choose the name Maya? Yes, Robert suggested it. He said it meant illusion in one language and mother in another. We liked that it could hold more than one meaning. Claire smiled sadly. It fits. Susan reached into her purse and removed the restored ring. Daniel gave this to me for safekeeping. Claire did not touch it. He said the choice should be yours, Susan continued. My grandmother promised it to me. Then keep it. Maya wanted something from her biological family. She wants you, the ring is only an object. Claire opened the box. Her grandmother had worn the ring for 48 years. After her grandfather died, she continued wearing it beside her wedding band. Claire remembered sitting on her grandmother's lap and turning the blue stone between her fingers. Blue for loyalty, her grandmother used to say, gold for endurance, diamonds because every marriage needs a little light when the days become dark. Claire had wanted the ring desperately after her grandmother died. Margaret said it had been lost. Perhaps she had always intended to keep every inheritance from becoming a path back to Maya. Claire lifted the ring. It doesn't fit me, she said. Susan smiled. Maybe it was waiting for someone else. Claire looked at her. The words should have hurt. Instead, they felt strangely right. That ring carried the history of women who had made choices, endured losses, and kept secrets. Claire did not need to wear it to claim where she came from. Give it to Maya tomorrow, Claire said. You should give it to her. I don't know whether I'll be there. Susan closed Claire's fingers around the box. Then decide before 4. Chapter 9. Saturday arrived beneath a clear blue sky. Claire woke before dawn at Nina's house. For several minutes, she forgot what day it was. Then she saw the ring box on the bedside table. Her daughter was getting married. Nina drove the flower van to Oak Ridge, while Claire sat silently beside her. You don't have to attend the ceremony, Nina said. Delivering the flowers is enough. Is it? No, but it may be all you can manage. St. Mark's Chapel stood beside a frozen lake. Sunlight reflected from the snow, making everything appear brighter than it was. Daniel was outside when they arrived. He wore a dark suit and a blue tie. When he saw Claire, hope crossed his face. I'm delivering flowers, she said before he could speak. They're beautiful. Maya designed them. She told me you helped. I did more than help. A small smile touched Daniel's mouth. Claire did not return it. Together, they carried the arrangements inside. The chapel smelled of polished wood and candles. Guests had not yet arrived, but music played softly from hidden speakers. Maya was dressing in a room behind the sanctuary. Susan came to meet Claire. She's nervous. She should be. Susan smiled. You told her that yesterday. Did it help? No. Daniel stood a few feet away, uncertain whether he was allowed to join the conversation. Claire handed him a box containing boutonnieres. Make yourself useful. He accepted it. Yes, ma'am. For a moment, they felt like themselves again. Then Claire remembered the months of silence. The familiar feeling disappeared. Maya called from the dressing room. Is Claire here? Claire's breath caught. Susan opened the door. Maya stood in front of a mirror, wearing a simple ivory gown. The dress had long sleeves and a narrow lace pattern across the shoulders. Claire forgot how to speak. She had imagined helping a daughter choose a wedding dress. In those old dreams, Claire had known every detail of the bride's life. Now she stood before a stranger, whose face felt more familiar every moment. You look beautiful, Claire whispered. Maya smiled nervously. Daniel said you saw the dress in Oak Ridge. From across the street. Maya's smile faded. I'm sorry. You didn't know. Susan adjusted the veil. Claire made your bouquet. I know. Maya looked toward the small velvet box in Claire's hand. Is that the ring? And yes. You don't have to give it to me. My grandmother wore it. Daniel told me. My mother hid it after she died. I thought it was lost. Maya touched the blue stone. It should be yours. Claire closed Maya's fingers around it. It was meant to pass through our family. But it was promised to you. I have spent my entire life believing love is proven by what someone keeps. Claire looked at Daniel through the open doorway. I'm beginning to think it may also be proven by what someone is willing to give. Daniel lowered his eyes. Maya slipped the ring onto her right hand. It fit perfectly. Claire laughed softly. Maya began to cry. Don't, Claire said, your makeup. I don't care. I do. I spent 30 minutes selecting flowers that match your face. Maya laughed through her tears. Then she looked at Susan. Would both of you help with my veil? Susan's face crumpled. Claire hesitated. This was not the dream she once had. In the dream, there had been only one mother. But reality had given Maya two women standing behind her. One had given her life. The other had taught her how to live it. Claire stepped forward. Together, she and Susan secured the veil. When the music began, Daniel entered the room. Maya turned toward him. Are you ready? He asked. No. Good, Claire said. Maya smiled. Daniel offered his arm. Maya looked at Claire. Will you come with us? Claire's heart pounded. This is your father's place. I had a father, Maya said softly. He died. Daniel is walking beside me for him. She extended her other hand. This place can be yours. Claire looked at Susan. Susan nodded through her tears. The chapel doors opened. Guests turned. Daniel walked on Maya's left. Claire walked on her right. As they entered the chapel, Maya tightened her grip on both of them. Claire saw the blue ring shining against the ivory fabric of her dress. The ring had not been meant for Claire. But perhaps the moment was. At the front of the chapel, Ethan waited with tears in his eyes. When they reached him, the minister asked who presented Maya for marriage. Daniel looked at Claire. Claire looked at Susan, seated in the first row. Then Maya answered for herself. My family does. Chapter 10. The reception took place in a restored inn overlooking the lake. Claire planned to leave after the ceremony. She told herself she had already taken more than enough emotional risk for one day. Then Maya asked her to stay for dinner. After dinner, Maya asked her to remain for the speeches. After the speeches, she asked Claire to dance. By then, leaving felt more difficult than staying. Claire danced badly. Maya danced worse. They laughed until several guests began staring. Daniel watched from the edge of the dance floor. He did not approach. Claire appreciated that. During the father-daughter dance, Maya invited Susan to join halfway through. Then she reached for Claire. The three women moved together awkwardly while Daniel stood nearby, visibly struggling not to cry. This is very unconventional, Susan whispered. My entire life is unconventional, Maya replied. Afterward, Claire went outside for air. The temperature had fallen, and the lake looked black beneath the evening sky. Daniel joined her but remained several feet away. You came, he said. I almost didn't. Thank you. I didn't come for you. I know. Claire wrapped her coat tighter. For several moments, they listened to music drifting from the inn. Was today worth lying to me? She asked. No. You gained 7 months with her. And may have lost 17 years with you. Do you think that is an equal exchange? No. Daniel looked toward the lake. I need you to understand something, but I am not asking you to excuse it. Claire waited. The day I found Margaret's letter, I drove to the memorial garden. I sat there for 6 hours. Why didn't you call me? I was ashamed. You hadn't done anything yet. I remembered leaving the hospital the night Maya was born. You were 20. I knew your mother wanted me gone. I let my father convince me that leaving was best. You believed the baby died. I still left you alone. Claire had carried anger about that night for years, though she rarely admitted it. Daniel continued. When I found Maya, I thought I could correct something. I could make sure she knew at least one of us wanted her. Every time I planned to tell you, I remembered that hospital and felt like the frightened boy who walked away. So you walked away again. And yes. The simplicity of his answer silenced her. I love you, he said, but my love did not make my choices loving. Claire looked at him. That was the first thing he had said that sounded completely honest. I don't know whether I can forgive you. I know. I may never trust you the same way. I understand. No, you don't. Trust is not believing someone will never hurt you. It is believing they will not make decisions about your life without you. Daniel nodded. I failed you. And yes. He did not argue. Claire looked through the window at Maya laughing beside Ethan. What happens now? Daniel asked. I return home when I'm ready. And us. We start with the truth. I will tell you anything. You should have been doing that already. And yes. Claire turned toward him. Did you ever consider leaving me? No. Was there anyone else? No. Did you hide anything besides Maya and the ring? Daniel hesitated. Claire's chest tightened. There is something else. Your mother left money. What money? An account intended for Maya. Claire laughed bitterly. Of course there is more. Margaret set it aside years ago. She never contacted Maya, but she deposited money every month. Guilt payments. Possibly. How much? Nearly $180,000. Does Maya know? No. Why not? I found the account documents only last week. Claire stared at him. And when were you planning to tell me? Tomorrow. She turned away. Daniel closed his eyes. I hear how that sounds. Tomorrow is where you put every truth you are too afraid to tell today. I'm sorry. The money belongs to Maya. I'd agree. We will tell her together. And yes. And there will be no more surprises. No more. Claire looked at him sharply. Do not promise things you cannot guarantee. Daniel nodded. No more secrets that I choose to keep. That wording was better. Behind them, the inn door opened. Maya stepped outside wearing a white coat over her wedding dress. There you are, she said. Claire moved away from Daniel. Is everything okay? Maya looked between them. Are you getting divorced? Daniel remained silent. Claire answered honestly. I don't know. Maya's face fell. This is my fault. No, Claire said immediately. You are not responsible for choices made before you knew the truth. But if Daniel hadn't found me, then we would still have problems. We simply wouldn't know their names. Maya looked close to tears. Claire touched her cheek. You are not a disaster that happened to our marriage. What am I? Claire's thought about the memorial garden, the tiny photograph, the flower shop, and the blue ring. You are the truth that finally arrived. Maya leaned into her hand. Claire pulled her into an embrace. Daniel watched them, tears shining in his eyes. For the first time, Claire allowed herself to hold her daughter without thinking about the years they had lost. Maya rested her head against Claire's shoulder. She smelled like winter air and garden roses. Claire closed her eyes. The moment did not erase anything. But it began something. Chapter 11. Claire returned home 2 weeks later. She moved into the guest bedroom. Daniel did not complain. They began marriage counseling on Tuesday evenings. During their first session, the counselor asked Claire what she needed from Daniel. The ability to be angry without taking care of his feelings, she answered. Daniel nodded. The counselor asked Daniel what he needed. A chance to become someone she can trust again. Claire did not promise him that chance. But she returned the following week. Maya and Ethan delayed their honeymoon so Maya could visit Claire's flower shop. They began meeting every Wednesday afternoon. Sometimes they spoke for hours. Sometimes they worked quietly beside each other. Claire learned that Maya bit her thumbnail when anxious, cried when frustrated, and became fiercely competitive during board games. Maya learned that Claire became silent when hurt, reorganized drawers when nervous, and secretly watched terrible reality television. Not every meeting went well. One afternoon, Maya referred to Susan as Mom 6 times in 10 minutes. Claire became distant. Maya noticed. I'm not going to stop calling her that, she said. I never asked you to. You don't have to. Claire set down a bundle of roses. I'm trying. I know. It hurts. I know. Maya's eyes filled with tears. But it would hurt her if I changed who she is to make you feel better. Claire wanted to defend herself. Instead, she nodded. You're right. Maya stepped closer. What should I call you? Claire is fine. Does it hurt when I call you Claire? Yes. Then what do we do? Claire considered the question. Maybe we stop searching for a word that pretends the situation is simple. Several weeks later, Maya began calling her Mama Claire. The first time she said it, she was carrying a bucket of tulips and did not seem to notice. Claire went into the cooler and cried for 5 minutes. She never told Maya. In March, Claire and Daniel visited the attorney responsible for Margaret's estate. The money was transferred to Maya. Maya initially refused it. I don't want anything from her. It isn't forgiveness, Claire said. It is restitution. What will I do with that much money? Something she would have hated. Maya smiled. She used part of it to establish a scholarship for young mothers finishing college. She used another portion to help Susan modify her house for easier mobility. The rest remained untouched. Claire's father declined quickly. Some days he remembered Maya. On those days he called her Lily. Maya never corrected him. During one visit, Thomas held Maya's hand and began to cry. I should have found you. You were afraid, Maya said. I was weak. And yes. Claire looked at Maya, surprised by the directness. Maya squeezed Thomas's hand. But you're telling the truth now. Thomas died in early summer. At the funeral, Maya stood between Claire and Daniel. Susan sat beside them. After the service, Claire placed the old memorial photograph inside her father's grave. She kept the photograph Maya had given her. August 17th arrived with heavy rain. For the first time in 22 years, Claire did not go to the memorial garden alone. Maya met her beneath the oak tree. Daniel came as well but waited near the path. Claire removed the final card bearing Lily's name. "What will you do with it?" Maya asked. "Keep it." "I thought you said Lily wasn't real." "She was the daughter I loved while I waited for you." Maya looked toward the stone. "Do you still wish I had been Lily?" Claire considered the question carefully. "I wish I had known your first name, your first word, and the sound of your laugh when you were small." "That isn't what I asked." "No, I don't wish you were anyone else." Maya took Claire's hand. They stood together while rain moved through the trees. Later that evening, Claire found Daniel in the kitchen. He had prepared burnt toast and tomato soup, the meal they ate as teenagers whenever neither of them had money. Claire sat across from him. "Was the toast intentional?" she asked. "Mostly." She dipped one corner into the soup. For months, Daniel had answered every question she asked. He showed her messages, letters, financial records, and photographs from his meetings with Maya. He did not hide when the truth made him look selfish or afraid. Trust had not returned, but the absence of trust no longer felt permanent. "I'm ready to move back into our room," Claire said. Daniel stopped breathing. "That doesn't mean everything is repaired." "I understand." "It doesn't mean I have forgiven everything." "I understand." "You keep saying that." "I'm learning to listen." Claire looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled faintly. "You still have a great deal to learn." "I know." She reached across the table. Daniel looked at her hand as though it were something sacred. Then he took it. Claire was not wearing her wedding ring. Not yet. Epilogue. 1 year after Maya's wedding, Willow and Vine received an unusual request. Maya wanted flowers for a varenewal ceremony. Not hers. Claire's. She and Daniel had not planned to renew their vows. The idea came from their counselor, who suggested they mark the beginning of a different marriage rather than trying to return to the old one. The ceremony took place in Claire's backyard. There were no expensive decorations. Maya arranged the flowers with help from Susan and Nina. Ethan repaired the old garden arch and insisted it had only taken him 20 minutes, though everyone knew he had spent 3 days working on it. Claire wore a pale blue dress. Daniel wore the same dark suit he had worn at Maya's wedding. Before the ceremony, Maya entered Claire's bedroom carrying 2 velvet boxes. "One is yours," she said. Claire opened the first box. Inside was her original wedding ring. She had placed it in a drawer nearly a year earlier. The gold had been polished, but the small scratches remained. "I didn't ask you to restore it." "I didn't, Daniel wanted to, but I told him the scratches were part of it." Claire looked at her daughter. "And the second box?" Maya opened it. Her great-grandmother's blue ring rested inside. "I can't accept that," Claire said. "You gave it to me." "Yes. And I'm keeping it." "Then why is it here?" Maya removed the ring from the box and threaded it onto a thin gold chain. She fastened the chain around Claire's neck. "It was never meant to be your wedding ring," Maya said, "but that doesn't mean it wasn't meant for you too." Claire touched the blue stone resting near her heart. "I thought you wanted to wear it today." "I wore it when I began my marriage. You should wear it while you begin yours again." Claire's eyes filled with tears. Maya adjusted the chain. "Blue for loyalty," Claire whispered. "Gold for endurance. Diamonds for light on dark days." Maya smiled. "You told me that." "My grandmother told me." "Then she belongs to both of us." Outside, the guests took their places. Susan sat in the front row. Nina stood beside the arch, already crying. Daniel waited beneath the flowers. He looked older than the boy who once proposed on a wooden bridge, but when he saw Claire, his expression carried the same nervous hope. Claire walked toward him alone, not because no one was willing to accompany her, because this choice belonged entirely to her. Daniel took her hands. His vows were simple. I cannot promise I will never be afraid. I cannot promise I will never make mistakes. I promise that fear will never again become an excuse for silence. I promise that every truth belonging to both of us will be carried by both of us. And I promise to spend whatever years we have left becoming worthy of the trust I once took for granted. Claire looked at Maya. Her daughter stood beside Susan, holding Ethan's hand. Then Claire faced Daniel. I once believed love meant finding someone who could protect me from pain, she said. Now I know love is finding someone willing to stand beside me when protection is impossible. I cannot promise to forget. I cannot promise never to be angry again. But I promise not to use the past as a weapon when you are working to build a better future. I choose you today with open eyes. That is a different promise than the one I made 17 years ago. I think it may be stronger. Daniel placed Claire's original ring back on her finger. The band felt familiar. The woman wearing it did not. She was no longer the young woman who apologized for grief that had been forced upon her. She was no longer the daughter who believed obedience was the same thing as love. She was Maya's mother. Not her only mother. Not the mother who raised her. But a mother who had loved her in absence and was learning how to love her in reality. After the ceremony, Maya approached Claire beneath the garden arch. Are you happy? She asked. Claire looked at Daniel speaking with Susan. She looked at Ethan stealing food from the dessert table and Nina pretending not to notice. Finally, she looked at Maya. Today I am. That sounds cautious. Real happiness usually is. Maya leaned her head against Claire's shoulder. The blue ring rested between them. A year earlier, finding it had convinced Claire that her marriage was ending. She had believed the ring represented another woman, another promise, and another future. In a way, she had been right. The ring had belonged to another woman. It had carried a promise Claire did not understand. And it had opened the door to a future she never imagined. But it had not been evidence that Daniel loved someone more than her. It had been evidence of a truth buried beneath 22 years of fear. The ring was never meant for Claire's finger. It was meant for the daughter she had lost. It was meant for the bride walking toward a new life. It was meant to pass from one generation of women to another. And for a little while, it was meant to break open every secret that had kept them apart. Sometimes the thing that shatters your life is not there to destroy it. Sometimes it breaks the walls that have been keeping the truth outside. Claire placed her arm around Maya. Across the garden, Daniel looked at them. This time, there was nothing hidden in his pockets. Nothing waiting for tomorrow. Nothing left unsaid. And as the evening light settled over the flowers, Claire understood that a family did not become whole by pretending it had never been broken. It became whole when every person was finally allowed to carry a piece of the truth. Together. If this story touched your heart, share in the comments what you would have done in Claire's place. Could you forgive Daniel for keeping such a life-changing secret, even if he believed he was protecting her? And wherever you are listening tonight, remember this. The truth may arrive late. It may arrive carrying pain. But sometimes it also brings home the person you thought you had lost forever.